All right, hey everybody. Hope you guys are all having a good time at Summit so far. My name's Alvaro Cadena, or Alvaro. This is Travis Wilson, one of the lead recruiters on our recruiting team. I work at Ava Labs as the head of talent as well. Just to give you guys a quick intro to this, we set this up as kind of like a free-flowing workshop. As the title states, it's about growing teams and growing your career in Web 2 or Web 3, transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3, I should say. Because we have kind of a mix of folks, we really set this up as more of like a open flow, ask me anything type of workshop. So we do want to start off by giving you guys a little bit of an intro on ourselves, telling you a little bit about our journey into blockchain and just what actually qualifies to give advice on some of this stuff, right? But once we're done with that, we're just going to go straight to opening up questions to the audience. Anything that you guys are curious about, whether you're someone that's looking to start a career, get to another level in your career in Web3, or if you're a project founder that's looking to build teams. I think Travis and I have both gone through a lot in our career where we know how challenging each of those things can be. So hopefully this will bring some good info to all of you guys. But as we go through our backstories and the intro, would ask you guys to start thinking about any questions that you might have in the meantime. But yeah, with that, Travis Wilson.
Hello, everybody. Quick background, recruiting team lead here, and as Alvaro said, please make it interactive. Like any questions, fair game. Let's put it that way. Background about myself is a little bit unique in the sense that I come from a traditional finance background. Started at an alternative asset manager, hedge fund focused on fixed income products, mortgage-backed securities, operations risk, portfolio manager, running my own fixed income liquid rates book as well as the head of the treasury desk. So managing all the liquidity profiles and the funding needs for the firm funds, which is about $2 billion AUM at that time. From there, I went to Bank of America Merrill as a lead rates trader. I fried out. Be honest, did that for 15, 20 years, fried out. Took time off. That's when I went down the rabbit hole. When everyone knows here, once you're down the rabbit hole, it's hard to come out. Reinvented myself. Actually, recruiting found me. Reinvented myself as an external agency recruiter. Clearly focusing on capital markets, that's my forte, know it in and out, as well as the digital asset space, because that's kind of where my passion turned into once going down the rabbit hole, and that was about 2014-ish, so you guys are aware. Did that for a few years, and funnily enough, the head of BD here, I recruited prior to him being here for another role, didn't work out, he landed here, and he ended up actually bringing me in here. So networking is critical, I'll get that out of the way now. Use that to your advantage, and doing events like these, very critical. Been here for about a year and a half, and I've pretty much been up and down every single vertical there is here, which is the beauty of the startup landscape space, is the multi-hat ability associated. But in a nutshell, that is my background.
Nice. Yeah, Travis is one of the best recruiters I've ever worked with, from being a VP at Bank of America to being a desk trader. I mean, the guy knows the space in and out. So if you guys have any questions about finance or, DeFi type recruiting and jobs, he's definitely your go-to. I started my crypto journey back in 2013. A lot of what resonated to me about the space was just the ethos of why it was developed. I graduated college in 2008. So as you can imagine, it was a really hard time. I think I spent like 4 years working a nonprofit job during the day, delivering pizzas at night, and selling sponsorship slots for events back in Orange County, California every weekend, right? So eventually, as Travis said, recruiting found me. It's one of the funny things about recruiting. Nobody ever grows up wanting to be a recruiter, but somehow you land there, and sometimes it's just a journey that doesn't let you go. But I was sitting at an agency, and me and one of my coworkers came across this crazy little thing called Bitcoin. Started just playing around and dabbling with it. Unfortunately, I'm a really bad trader, unlike Travis. So even though I was that early in the space, I kind of wrecked myself at every single possible stage. But I kept learning, and for me, it was always more about the technology than about the money. So I continued working in the agency space at 2 of the biggest recruiting firms in the US. Eventually, just kind of saw that a lot of recruiting technology was catching up to some of the tools that gave us an advantage. So I ventured off to start my own blockchain recruiting agency in 2017. And sometime around 2021, had already been in the space, was just checking out Avalanche. And the same guy that recruited Travis actually recruited me. So I was his recruiter. At one time, we were fighting for his placement somewhere. But it was just a funny story. Like, I would have never worked, and I always say I never would have worked internally at a company in my whole life just because of how much I loved, like, the agency lifestyle. But Ava Labs just presented such a good opportunity at such a good early stage that once I recognized it, I just kind of had to jump into it. So I've been there for the last 2 years. The first, year was really hands-on. I think we were about 45 people at that stage. We're now up to a little over 250. So it's been a quick journey, and now growing a team of 8 recruiters, kind of overseeing more of the program development, getting away from the day-to-day. But, got to say, those first 9 months were a lot of like everyone else in the space, just around the clock, phone calls, talking to people, getting to know the space, and diving deep. So we all kind of started somewhere, even though I was already familiar with the trading aspects. Like, guiding and shaping careers in the space was a completely different story. So yeah, with that said, it's just a little bit about who we are, what we've been doing since then, and would really love to just create a forum for a lot of the ecosystem to support each other. Onboarding people into Web3 is one of the most important things that we can do as a community because there's still just not enough of us out there. And helping those teams build and match with the right people is like of paramount importance to our protocol as well. If the projects that build upon us aren't successful, then neither will we, or we won't be either, I should say. So hopefully, that gives you guys a good familiarity with who we are. Again, we're going to open it up for questions now and just kind of pass the mic around through the crowd so that anything you guys are, I would love to give a presentation, but usually find that dealing with the issues that you guys are seeing right now and are most critical to you tends to have a lot more weight to it and a lot more, impact. So yeah, with that being said, if you have a question, raise your hand, and the team will kind of come around to pass the mic.
Hey, thanks. Thank you for sharing your story. I relate a lot on how you got into blockchain, and I'm a product manager, and I'm actually when I was looking for my first opportunity in Web3 and in blockchain, I came across this landscape of you have a lot of opportunities out there if you know where to look for them. However, most of those opportunities, they are pretty rigid, I would say, regarding previous knowledge on Web3. So to me, we are at this point where it's really difficult to onboard people into Web3 if you are asking them as a must that they need to know about Web3. And it happened to me. My wife, she's a UX designer, and she didn't have any previous experience at Web3. And she went through an interview process, and the recruiter was actually grilling her because she's not like a super Web3 degen like most of us. She was like, yeah, I can trade some Bitcoin, I can send stable coins around, but that's it. So I was just wondering, what are your thoughts and what is Avalanche actually from Ava Labs, what you guys are doing regarding that?
No, fair assessment. And I will say here, round up your personal knowledge, right? Not every role is crypto native mandatory. We have recruited and filled plenty of positions where some I only had mild, right? But they were super expert in what the role was. As far as the balance, what does go far and what we do look for is your personal side knowledge if some sort of crypto native mandate is had. Yes, some roles you need to be, period. But we are not so beholden to that as much as others, I will say. But definitely hone up your personal knowledge, as I like to call them, the crypto closet people, right? I've definitely pulled plenty of people, and they're harder to pull because they're not even on the resume, and I would recommend putting your crypto closet knowledge on your resume too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great synopsis of what we look for. I think a lot of that is a byproduct of where we are in our growth. Sometimes, it's actually a two-way street. Even though you'd want to onboard and hire as many people as you can, sometimes it's not fair to onboard someone that's not ready to be a self-learner and that is not set up to succeed. So we definitely have to have a lot of conversations with our hiring managers and teams to figure out who's capable of doing that. Honest kind of situation on our end is some of the best contributors we had because of our founder, Goon, being a professor at Cornell for 20 years, were folks that were his students at the time and just knew his theories like in and out, right? But when it comes to their experience, not contributing to a protocol or with their crypto native language, but with management, it was actually their first time. So as a recruiter, if you're doing a good job, you really have to balance those two sides of the equation. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not really your say in the situation that you're presented with. So I'll give you another like empathetic answer and then the not so popular answer as well. In that like a lot of organizations can do that and can do a much better job of that. And like recruiting as an industry hasn't always focused on that. So that's just a reality of the type of recruiter you're dealing with. Our team, I think we try to formulate it in a way where we can not compensate, but just adjust for that where needed with our internal teams. The not so popular answer is that it really is on you to step up to the level of the company's expectations if you want that job. But the good news is, I always say this, is like experience in the space is just as permissionless as the systems that it's built upon. So I didn't start recruiting just by jumping into Ava Labs. I decided to go form my own agency. And even when I was in my agency, the industry wasn't mature enough where people knew enough about that to pay fees. So I was jumping into Discord groups for all my favorite projects, which I won't name here because I might get a slap on the hand for promoting other protocols. But I was jumping into those Discord groups and offering founders help for free just because I really wanted to get into the space. And I know that's hard for people that are working at like very demanding jobs, very demanding companies. But I think I see the advice all the time on your LinkedIn, like most quoted type things, but you spend 40 hours a week at a job working on someone else's dream. Even if your dream is to go do that for somebody else in a different space, you can spend an hour a day working on your own dream, right? Hopefully that answered your question, but right here. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry, we got the mic back there.
Actually, this is not a question, but to add to what you said, I think it is on you, you said it. There are a lot of certificates. You don't need a degree at UC Berkeley or Cornell or Coursera. You have a lot of certificates that you can take. They are free, unless you want a certificate for which you'll pay $50. But I think to move from Web 2 to Web 3, or anything blockchain. And by the way, I've done what you've done, but at UC Berkeley, I launched the Master of Financial Engineering program. For 20 years, I managed this program. I am in blockchain now. And I think educating folks is very important, but people don't know where to get this education. And again, the beauty of Web3 and knowing about blockchain is you don't need a degree. I highly recommend that you look at free resources, and perhaps Ava Labs should put together some seminars, etc. But I will launch them very soon. I am a blockchain track chair at Berkeley Skydeck, our accelerator. So check them, and you will be able to learn a great deal.
Yeah. No, please get us your info after. We'd love to check that out, help promote. And to your point, yes, we would love to put out more resources as bandwidth approves. We actually have a new company coming on board that's building out educational videos. We invested them as Avalanche. So there will be some more resources to help onboard to our systems and get familiar with them coming soon. I don't want to butcher the name right now because I just met them this weekend or this week. But if you're curious, feel free to follow up with me after, and I'd love to share that info.
So I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum. I would consider myself crypto native, but from a lot of jobs that I've looked at, they're asking for 5 to 10 years experience in a specific thing. I haven't even been in the workforce for 10 years. So I'm kind of wondering, how do you break into an industry like that? Because I've looked at a few internships too, and they're very specific. Like you have to be in college at the time. So that's not really my interest, or going to work in something I'm not passionate about for 10 years before I can go into a crypto space. So.
So that comes into just picking apart what those things really mean and what those people are really trying to say. Because a lot of our positions are also kind of written in that same vein where we're looking to 5 to 10 years when we're targeting senior level talent. But I always say too, like years of experience doesn't measure the depth of experience. And in blockchain especially, just due to the fact that while the industry was emerging and like everyone was busy at their day job, university students actually had the most time to like research and dabble around and get hands-on. So for me as a recruiter, I actually count like, hey, you were in a blockchain club since 2016. I look at that as experience. I think as like an industry event recently, you saw the Uniswap V3 like voting count. Some of the biggest like voting holders were universities, right? University of Michigan, Stanford, UCLA, MIT. It's because those student groups get so much more involved in research where you have to kind of balance both sides of the coin with some industry experience. It's hard to claim all of that because I think you have to learn how to work in a like production industry setting with project management and deadlines and other coworkers around you. But at the end of the day, there's like a balance of people that have those 10 years that don't have what you have. So the first stage is getting yourself noticed in that. And to that, I would say like invest in yourself a little bit, not just in your education, but there's tools on LinkedIn where you pay for a premium membership and you can in-mail anyone. Hound that recruiter. I will be the first to say that sometimes that's really annoying, but it does get my attention, and a lot of people do break through that way, right? You just have to be very self-aware of what your experience is and how that doesn't matter in your case, and just make sure that you're screaming from the mountaintop for the people that need to hear it. So I would say, like in our case, if it was one of our applications, I would probably find my way to you eventually and kind of like work around that. But it's not always the case in the industry. So unfortunately, a lot of times it is like a try again. And even if you're speaking to an audience of none, you just have to get it out there. But I wish you the best of luck, man. That's a really hard stage. And hold on, let me see if you got anything to add.
No, you're right. That's a hard stage, to be honest with you. But Alvaro's right. Just keep trying over and over and over again. And it also is dependent upon where that startup is on their growth mode, to be honest, right? Some want to do top down, so therefore once the senior level is established, they'll start bringing in that level that you're referencing. Other fresh startups might want to bring in someone and grow them up, right? And it's just going to be a function of, again, try, and just putting yourself out there, and just keep networking. Networking is pivotal in our industry, just like most industries. There is no easy answer for you, to be honest, though. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the speaking. I'm actually a student in Turkey, and I'm currently working in a cryptocurrency exchange platform as a developer. But I cannot see much female in industry, especially as technical product owner. And what do you think about what's wrong with it, and how can we encourage people, especially in students at college and female ones?
Yeah, that's like one of the most complicated questions to ask in recruiting too, right? Because like I look through this DEI data every month and like our scores within that, and like naturally it's never where we want it to be. Even though like I think for us we've always had like an innate embeddedness of like minorities and women first with just the way that we try to hire. To give like the line that I see most often, it's like a byproduct of like years and decades of female serfdom just coming to fruition in a way where the industry levels are just naturally shifted because of that like buildup and the fact that women haven't had those opportunities for as long as they should have, right? So it's not fair. It's something that we really focus on in trying to make a better like space for and create a safe space for those things to appear. I will say we are pretty proud of the fact that I think last year's summit event and even this year's summit event, we had the highest percentage of female speakers and female representation within the ecosystem. But it's something that's very intentional, right? I think we have weekly meetings where naturally in an industry that's dominated by like 80-something% men, the ratios just are going to be hard to flip on its head within like a short amount of time or in one company or in one hiring sprint. But it's something that starts with leadership. Thankfully for us, we're a minority-owned company. We have female representation in leadership levels, whether that be director, VPs, and we're constantly looking for better ways to improve that as well. The first employee resource group that we started off was by one of the members of our team, Tori Park, who started the Women of AVAX group. We try as much as we can to support that, and if you guys have ideas or have a desire to do that, come talk to us because we only want to encourage it more in the space. But as far as like my humble space and humble position within the broader side of things, it's sometimes a little difficult just to address that problem all in one swoop. But we are trying.
And overall, I will say I think we've done a pretty good job at Ava Labs. I mean, the women footprint, to use that as a marking point here, is greater than 25% of the company is female, which is a big number for our space. The industry is still relatively small for the most part, but that is something we definitely look at, right? Women, minorities, et cetera, on a wholehearted recruiting basis. And we do make hard efforts on that front. Because I've talked to other competitors, and they're actually pretty impressed with where we are on that footprint. And we just continue to press that side of the equation. We are aware of it. We do focus on it. And I want to say we're probably one of the leaders when it comes to that side of the equation.
It's definitely a daily struggle for everybody that's trying to make that happen.
I'm actually also a student, but I come from like a data science, machine learning background, but I've gotten like very interested in blockchain. And it seems like that sort of skill set right now is mostly confined to like a quant trading firm. I was curious if you see that sort of the cross-section of blockchain and machine learning data science growing at all, and what that might look like in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we like to say it's never too late to be early, but in the case of data science, you are really early. Part of the reason that problem exists is just due to the fact of data indexing and where data is held. We're still building a lot of infrastructure within Web3, starting with protocols. You're seeing a lot more database products, file storage, things like that, but the world of data that currently exists on Web 2 is way more expansive than the world of data that exists in Web 3. So you're literally talking about like the Earth in the scope of a universe for where it's at now. A lot of the quant trading, you're absolutely right. That's where the money is. If you have a great data analyst that can, help automate your trading, naturally, one of the biggest trends in blockchain early was the DeFi space and crypto and investing, which is also just a small microcosm of where the space is going, right? But I don't see that trend continuing for a long time. I think as data engineers enter the space and we have more like accurate, quantifiable data warehouses, data lakes, on-chain data on the systems, you will eventually see the data science world catching up to it as well, because as you've seen in Web 2, the world is existent, or like the world like survives and thrives on data now. It is the highest form of currency in the digital world. But I will say there are a lot of opportunities that I don't think data scientists see as natural. For example, at Ava Labs, we do have data scientists, but they don't work a lot on the engineering front because we don't have a lot of stuff to build yet. Most of the data scientists that work on our teams exist in marketing data and product data. It is still very Web 2 focused, but it's informing what will be built next and what users want. And when you deploy something, what users actually gravitate to in the world of Web 3. So if you're thinking like specifically crypto, DeFi investing space, it'll take a while before it catches up to that. But if you're looking at helping a company decide what features users want to use or how to measure sentiment on your social media interactions, which obviously everyone knows, like crypto Twitter has way too much power, But I mean, hopefully that gives you some insights. But you are really early in terms of like just data science being utilized in Web 3.
We are getting there. Quant analyst, let's talk. I have a role opening up in 2 weeks. Data scientists, we do have a data scientist division, but I think the key component there, as Alvaro is touching upon, is we are also eventually, and we have a couple, right, product marketing, but data scientists per vertical, right? We are now currently building out our data pipelines for the finance team, as an example, where we're bringing on a data engineer to build them out, automate them, et cetera. Next step will be the data scientist. So as the company grows, that is definitely going to be a requirement for each vertical, whether it's marketing, product, finance, et cetera. We're just not fully there yet, which Alvaro mentioned. Like, it's coming, though.
And I think we're wrapping up time, so we'll take one more question, and then for anyone else that didn't get a chance to ask or has any other questions, we'll probably grab a beer outside here at the bar afterwards. So come on out and just keep talking to us.
What makes the culture at Ava Labs, company culture, unique, and what kind of attributes are you looking for in candidates to match the culture? Maybe also attributes that are not necessarily included on a JD. Thanks.
I always describe our culture as being foundationally strong. I think culture really gets defined personally, and this is me personally speaking here, when you're like 500 or greater or much more established. On the foundation level, baseline level, I think we have everything that makes it. We are, in my opinion, an intellectual powerhouse shop from both the academia footprint and the business footprint. It only gets compounded where we have that passion, that drive, that belief. Like everyone is full-on belief with what we're bringing to the world and our product along with it. There is also that collaborative, friendly, right? The beauty of startup is that, yes, it's verticalized, but it's very horizontal still, right? Hence the multi-hat term associated with startup, because you get dirty in every single area. So we do bring a lot of that to the table. So cross-collaboration, passion, belief, drive, intellectual power. Baseline is very solid, in my opinion, as far as like the nuanceable fine line that you hear culture-wise at other firms. That'll come, but we are on that front in a really good spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Travis said, I think culture really gets defined once you get to a point of like critical mass and you're kind of in the space, but it's unique. Like for a space that's so innovative and it's so decentralized and like we give everyone room to come to their like table with their ideas, it's really hard to put it into like categories. I think the one thing that does kind of tie a thread through everything is that everyone feels like they have like the first pens writing this history of like blockchain, right? If I can contribute this line of code, I would have had something to do with writing that book. Or for me and Travis's case, like I'm building the teams that will one day be quoted in like use cases of like universities. Actually, Harvard just wrote they structured a class based around the development of our consensus and the implementation of it into the industry because of ICOs and all that cool stuff, right? So, I mean, we'll never be like a footnote or there's someone that's going to be like, not everyone's going to be cited, right? But everyone contributes to that, and that's super exciting. I think that's what brings most people to the space. The way somebody put it to me, it was just like, when you're asked to get on a rocket ship, you don't really ask which one. You just want to shoot for the stars, right? So there's that thread, and then from there, like culture kind of defines itself within its like different daily teams. Engineers are engineers, like the sales folks are sales folks. The best ones do it the way they do it, and you don't want to structure that by putting someone in a box in terms of the way you have to think. I think blockchain is way too early to restrict the ideas that come out of that like space. You don't want a single box. You want every single box you can find being poured out on the floor and finding the pieces that fit best. Cool. We still good on time? Do we have time for one more? Any other? No? Okay. All right, guys. Well, we got to wrap it up. I know it was a short 30 minutes, so hopefully some of that info was either informational, inspiring, whatever it is, we're here to support. For anybody that has other questions, come find us at the bar. Thank you.